Rashi's question. אף על פי שמנען וחייהם בשמותם חזר ומנען במיתתן. Even though they counted them in their lifetime, right, which is in Parshas Vayigash, when they went down to Egypt, Bishmoisam, by name, Chaza u'manan b'misosim. He repeated and counted them again, or enumerated them again, after they died. Nodia chibatan, to show how dear they are to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shenimshelu b'kochavim. Because hereby, by the fact that the Torah repeats and enumerates them by name, in the same way as enumerated them in their lifetime, thereby the Torah, shall we say, treats them, right, like stars, right? Similar, as we find a similar thing. Shemoitzion u'machnisan b'mispah. Right? It takes that similar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu also takes them out and brings them in the mispar by number, ubishmoisam and by name. Shneema, lekulam b'shem yikra. Right? He takes out by number their hosts, means their numbers, their groups. Lekulam, each one, all of them, b'shem yikra.
Thank you.
You know how to actually adjust the camera that it can bring it up closer? Just to get to that. Anyway. No, to adjust. No, Joe, adjust
make the picture closer. Make the picture
You don't know how to do it? No, okay, fine. So leave it then. Okay. Yeah. So this way, that's why the Torah starts over here to show you how dear the sons of Yaakov were, Shmos Bnei Yisrael, because it repeats them by name, and to indicate how dear they were to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, just like stars. Okay? Okay. Shomer. Pasuk base.
Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda.
Continue.
Yisachar, Zvulun, Binyomin.
Continue further.
Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher.
Right. These are the terms of the 12 tribes. Note the order over here. Okay. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. Yisachar, Zvulun, and Binyomin. Dan, the Naphtali, Gad, Asher. 11 sons are mentioned here.
And Yosef and the sons also not here.
Right. But that's the next passage. That's the next passage. Right. He.
V'yikol nefesh yotzei
Yerach Yaakov.
Shivin nefesh.
Yosef haya b'Mitzrayim. Okay, now we haven't mentioned it. Here the Torah started, the first part says, these are names of Bnei Yisrael who came to Mitzrayim. Okay, who went down to Mitzrayim. Okay, and then of those are these 11 sons. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zvulun, Binyamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher. Now this pasuk is saying, Vayhi, let's translate it. Vayhi kol nefesh yoytze yerach Yaakov shivim nefesh. All the souls who were literally produced by the loins of Yaakov, which means his descendants, another way of expressing his descendants, the descendants of Yaakov, all the souls were 70 people, shivim nefesh. The Yosef hayu b'Mitzrayim. With Yosef, who was in Mitzrayim. And that's indicated by the Targum over there. The Yosef, Gahava b'Mitzrayim. Right? Oh, so now, so Rashi's got a question. The Yosef hayu b'Mitzrayim. With Yosef, who was in Mitzrayim.
It's not the sons included in the
70. Okay, so why does the Torah have to say explicitly Yosef haya b'Mitzrayim? Okay? What is this adding to it? What is this telling us? Yodim shuhu haya b'Mitzrayim. Don't we know that he was in Egypt? El hadiachot. It's interesting because the Chai we just said, the reason why Yosef wasn't mentioned in the first list is because he didn't actually come down to Mitzrayim. He was already there. But the chayra of Rashi's question is, the order should have been different. He says, he names everything. Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher. Ve Yosef, Shahai, B'Mitzrayim. Every Haikal Nefesh, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Shimon, Nefesh. The order should have been different. Okay? וכי לא יודעים שהיו שבועיים במצרים, אלא הדיחו, carry on. The righteousness of Yosef. Who Yosef haroes son Aviv? He's the Yosef who pastured his father's flock, meaning he lived a sheltered existence, wasn't exposed to all the high life of Egypt. Right, when he was till he was 17, he was pasturing his father's flock, was in his father's house, not exposed to any outside influences. And nevertheless, who Yosef Mitzrayim v'naseh melech, nevertheless he remained the same, right, on the same level of righteousness. Pretty amazing. I think a 17-year-old kid, and also don't forget he wasn't your 17-year-old kid who was like a quiet lemela, as they call it, right? He was worldly, right? He knew how to look nice, right? He was a shiva bacher,
right?
Right?
Which comes down to say that if somebody can teach you, their ways, by the time you're 8 years old, they got you. Which means that Joseph studied so much longer with Yaakov.
Right. See, I don't know where the idea of 8 years old comes from.
I don't know either, but
I don't know. Traditionally, is 13 is for us a very crucial age.
It's a Christian thing, 8.
Yeah.
I don't know whatever, but.
Well, I think that's
the
because
age
of
of
large society.
The age of chinuch you find in the Mishnah in Ovis.
Right.
Ben chomesh lemikra. When the child is 50 years old, or either in his 5th year or he's 5 years old, depending different explanations. He's suitable then to learn chomesh. Ben esel lemishnah. Right. When he's 10, he's suitable to 13 is the mitzvahs. He's chayv mitzvahs. Chomesh is really Gemara. When he's 15, he's suitable to learn Gemara. Which means he can fully understand Gemara. Then it says Ben shmona esel lechuppah. He gets married. Akopanim, those are the important ages according to the Mishnah in Ovis. Those are the things. 8 years old, I don't know. Akopanim, you take a 17-year-old boy, a little bit worldly, likes to look nice, as we see, likes to look nice. Nevertheless, he was put first 1 year in the house of Potiphar, he was like an Egyptian high society. A wife who was running after him, right? Had to go through that. Then he had to go through 12 years in an Egyptian dungeon. And then afterwards he was catapulted up to the Egyptian court to be a viceroy. And nevertheless, he spent there, before his father came, another 9 years. He continued the Maisa. Maisa comes out, he was 30, altogether he was ruled as viceroy for 80 years. A long time, from age 30 to 110.
Right.
And nevertheless, throughout this, he remained the same tzaddik.
How did he do it?
Did he do it?
Right upbringing.
Right, partially upbringing, partially his own. Why is it's interesting? We don't call Avram HaTzadik, Yitzchak HaTzadik, Yaakov HaTzadik. Yosef's term is called, like his title is called Yosef HaTzadik, is because he had that inner strength to withstand outside influences and remain steadfast in his righteousness.
Nobody can say about themselves being in such a foreign.
But I guarantee you that the Pharaoh didn't see that he was steadfast, because you don't stay steadfast in one area and stay steadfast in another area. He would have kicked, it was to his advantage. I mean, it's good that it worked out like that he was steadfast rather than weakened, because he wouldn't, because after the crisis was over with maybe the Pharaoh wouldn't need him so much. I mean, he had to prove that he was still the same Joseph
Correct,
as when
100%.
he came in.
Right. Yeah.
And no wonder he died. I should say that. No wonder he died younger. And there's a certain tension, even though on Joseph probably wasn't so much because he was already trained to be that way, to be steadfast, to do a good job, and so on and so forth. But there's a bit of a tension, you know,
Yeah,
being
but,
being
but once you
exposed
reach
like that.
110,
Yeah. I mean,
They say his life was cut short for many reasons. One was
that's
because
another one then.
yeah, the other thing is that he was cut short. One of the reasons was because he was with the ruling class. He was it's supposed to take something out of you.
Yeah, that's what I would say. That's what I would say.
So why did they say the Atzmotai? Then he said the last part of the Atzmotai. Why did he want? Because he's supposed to be Shalem. He's supposed to be like Yaakov. That is.
I mean, the guf would remain the same. Why
Yeah.
only his
Why did
bones?
Rad Yosef wrote down that he wants to bring his bones? Just
Maybe he didn't expect, right?
he wrote, it's the Perus that said he's written down. He used to come as here and he was with Eshet Parafal B'Cholzot.
He had
It's
more
like his
connection
father.
with this world.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Is
here,
it, why was he able to cope? I would think one of the things is we know that there was a great famous yeshiva which Yaakov went to, and he was able, Shemoneh, and he was able to cope when he went to Lavan. That's
right.
he sort of
But
prayed.
actually,
So
I-
maybe, and he used to learn with Yosef right all the time. So they must have discussed. I mean, maybe Torah
So
was.
that, one second.
I'm just thinking, just.
Yaakov, you're making a very good point.
Good
The
point.
Chazal make that point. Because first of all, as we say,
Struck,
Yaakov didn't just start learning when he left
No, it's reading.
his father's house. I mean, we said he was 14 years, he was hidden in the yeshiva of Ava.
Yeah.
He says Yaakov had been learning before. He says he'd been learning the whole of his life. Why did he need to go and hide 14 years? So the Mefarshim explain, who is Ava, right? There was still, first it was Shem, Ava, but afterwards Shem was no longer alive. But Ava, what was unique? He was called Ava, right? Now, we find similarly Avram HaIvri.
He
Avram's
did experience life, he passed.
No.
From Adam is.
He managed to survive in a world, totally alien world, meaning
Oh,
The other side.
on the other side.
right, that's what I mean. He had passed through the hard.
Meaning he remained to keep himself afloat. In other words, he made keep himself isolated from the influences of all of the world going around him. So therefore, Yaakov studied with with Ava for 14 years to learn how to live isolated in a very alien environment. I.e., he knew he was going to Lavan's house.
Right.
Not only that, how long did Yaakov intend to stay in Lavan's house?
Just for 7 years.
Right. Nevertheless, he prepared himself 14 years to be able to stay in Lavan's house for 7 years.
Without sleep. He was always with his
Meaning
book.
Then in the end, he was there 21 years.
right, 20 years. 20 years. It was there 20 years in the end. Akoponim, you see, and when you mentioned Yaakov, it says, Rashi at the beginning of Parshas Vayeshev, it says that particular chokhmah, wisdom, which Yaakov had learned with Ava, that he passed down to Yosef. It seems that, obviously, that Yosef, Yaakov, certain element of prophecy.
Yosef didn't remember Yosef?
No.
He learned with his dad all the time.
But Yosef, he learned that from his father. His father gave him, Rashi says at the beginning of Vayeshev, why was he called Ben Zikunim Muloi? That was the special chokhmah which he had learned from Ava, that he gave over to Yosef.
Right.
So therefore, as you're saying, but it's interesting that Yosef was able, could partially because Yaakov had already imbibed the whole thing, and also Yosef maybe was younger, and he was more easily molded,
Influence,
right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't say how long he learned that particular Torah with him. But Yosef managed to imbibe that wisdom to the extent that even though he left when he was 17, and he was also 22 years in a very alien environment, he managed to maintain his righteousness, like his, shall we say, inside his his essence, his inner essence remained righteous, right? Even though the fact outwardly he had sort of had to play the Egyptian game, right? Whatever, being in a very foreign environment, alien environment, he nevertheless managed to remain wholesome inside. That he remained righteous.
Joseph was the paradigm for all future Jews through the ages.
Correct.
Who served as counselors, chief counselors to kings and prime ministers and presidents and stuff like that. As to how that you only stayed useful because you were righteous. That you were always, your counsel could be trusted.
It's interesting that throughout the ages, many famous Jews were acted as advisors to kings, but very often many of those Jews themselves suffered from the rivals, the Gaulish rivals, who were deeply jealous of their position.
Well, sure. That means they had to be better, because if they weren't, they'd be out the door. Yeah, so it sounded like a cart. It
Anyway,
just keeps on rolling back and forth.
I learned something interestingly when I was reading up. I would like to read up before I come here.
Okay.
It reminds me, because otherwise I won't be able to. It mentions the names of the tribes.
Right.
And in that, he doesn't put all them in order, if you notice.
There is an order.
Well, yeah, but towards
First,
the
the
end...
side. No,
Well, can I just finish?
Yeah.
Right. In that he tries to separate or mix in the tribes of the handmaidens. So that's to show you that they're now a nation, or sort of the start of a nation.
Not quite so. I
was told that this is one of the... where does Binyomin? Binyomin could be... if you wanted to show...
No, so, the Apostle mentions as follows. First, the 6 sons of Leah.
Right, okay.
Reuben, Shimon, Levi, the sons of Reuben. Right? And then Binyomin.
Yeah, where's the handmaidens?
The last gossip, the last, don't have to
Well, I thought they mixed in.
No.
I beg your pardon. Right.
Okay.
Show that they're a nation. Maybe it's later on. Sorry.
Now,
Right,
so Vav, Yaakov.
where do you start from? Vav. Right. Vayikol nefesh.
No, we did that.
Oh, you did that?
Pasuk Vav.
Vav, sorry. Vayamot Yosef, and Yosef died. V'chol echa, v'chol hador hahu.
Right.
All his brothers and all that generation also died.
Yeah.
Right, so carry on.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, I had a beautiful pshat last night.
Yeah.
We had a hesped for Steinman in the shul there. So one of the speakers said, why does it say the singular term? Vayomas Yosef v'chol echa v'chol hador hahu. It should say Vayomusu. They died. Because it's referring to Yosef and all his brothers and all that generation. It's referring to many people. So why does it say a singular term?
As one.
They were all one mind and one heart.
No.
They were all
It
the
says
same people.
The main death, shall we say, that had a real significance, right, which didn't not exactly pale all the other ones, but this was the major change, was Yosef. True, all the other brothers died and all that generation died, but the loss, whose death was most should we say, had the greatest effect on what was happening, was Yosef's death.
Yeah.
So he's saying similarly that when a tzaddik passes away, even though many other people in the generation will also pass away, but the tzaddik of the generation, his death makes the most impact.
They also say, which quite what you say, but they also add that apart from Yosef kept the family away, it's Yaakov who really kept the family together. So they say when the father dies of the children, there's a problem that the family he keeps the family together. I agree with what you're saying, I'm just...
but here it doesn't say...
I'm just adding that to...
Okay, fine. Next pasuk Zayin. No Rashi on that part.
B'nai Israel paru v'yishretzu. The B'nai Israel were fruitful and prolific, v'yirbu, and their population multiplied. V'yashmu b'mod ma'od, they were exceedingly mighty, v'timlei ha'aretz hotam, and the land was filled with them. And prolific.
Okay, now one second. Now notice there's the Israel. There's six expressions over here. Paru, they were fruitful. Vayishutzu, they swarmed, right? Vayirbu, they multiplied greatly. Vayatzmu, they became powerful. Bimoid, ma'oid, very, very much. Okay, so it's 6 expressions. Paru, Vayishutzu, Vayirbu, Vayatzmu, Bimoid, ma'oid. Okay, and Vatim olei ha'aretz, the land became filled with them. Now Rashi says, comments over Vayishutzu. Yes, Yaakov.
Okay. Vayishutzu, and the prolific. Shahayu Yodot Shisha Bekeres Hechad. They bore 6 children at one time.
Right.
So.
Okay, now there's a machlokes between the Mefarshim. Where does Rashi get this idea of 6 at a time? So one way of explaining is Rashi, because of an expression by Yishutsu. What's the term by Yishutsu means? They literally means they swarmed.
Prolific.
Yeah, but he translates prolific. More thing is compared. What's a sheretz?
Creepy crawly insect.
Right, an insect.
They have many. They have more than 50.
Right, they are common, and the Gemara says that it's common practice that they give birth 6. But actually, we're not talking about insects so much as we're talking about rodents.
Locusts.
No.
Rodents.
Rodents. And rodents commonly give birth 6 at a go. Okay? So therefore, the Bnei Yisrael multiplied like rodents, that's what it means by Yishutzu, and therefore that's the Uriah, they gave 6 birth, they had 6 at one time. That's one explanation. And the other explanation is because there's 6 expressions over here in the Pasuk. Horu, Vayishutzu, Vayilbu, Vayatzmu, Bimoid, Ma'oid. So that indicates they had 6 at one time.
You know, I didn't realise that reading further on that there's some families who have 50 in a family. You only need 6. That's one impregnation. You get 6.
Right. So actually, it's interesting. The Mefarshim dwell on this. There's one Medrash says they had 6 at one time, a bekeres echad, and one womb produced 6, and the other one said Shishin bekeres echad. There was 60 in one womb.
Right.
So I always understood that chase. It doesn't mean there was 60 at one birth. It means that one particular lady had 10 births of 6 at a time, each. Which is also quite a bit of a feat, right?
Right.
So they had 60 children altogether.
There were one of the great
10 births of 6 each.
That seems like a dandy way of making yourself.
Remind me of the Dr. Seuss book, you know, Call Them All Dave. Do you remember that one? No.
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah.
No, he did.
Anyway, Akoponim.
They say that is it Ezra, one of the great commentators years back, 1500, maybe long before that, was a doctor, a great doctor.
Ibn Ezra.
Ibn Ezra, and he actually witnessed, according to what I read, that 4 quadruple quads, not quads, 5, what you call 5.
Quintuplets.
Yeah, he was at present either 4 or 5, either 4 births at 5 times or 4 births, 5 children, 20. One off, I know, but
They all
so
survived?
you saw 20. Yeah, with all healthy kids. So I'll just show you that it's not an impossibility, you know.
Oh,
Okay.
But I mean, you know, that's they said it was.
maybe we should be eating more
Eating the wrong food.
Anyway, it's interesting. Vatimolei haaretz oisom, and the land became filled with them. What's the Torah have to tell us that for? So the Medrash says actually, this runs on to the next pasuk. Shlomo, please.
Okay. Vayakam Melech HaChadash Al Mitzrayim Asher Lo Yada Et Yosef. And there arose in Egypt a new king that didn't know Joseph. Okay. Vayakam Melech Hadash. Rab U Shmuel Chad Amar Hadash Mamash. Vayachad Amar Sheh Nit Chadshu Go 0 time. that Rav and Shmuel, as one said.
One said, no, there's a difference of opinion between Rav and Shmuel. Discussion between Rav and Shmuel.
Oh,
Chad Omar, one said.
There's a difference?
Well, that's how the Gemara says. It's like you have to read it in. Rav and Shmuel had a discussion.
And they said.
Chad Omar, one said.
Was it new really?
Chad Omar, one said. Chadosh Mamash. She was really a new
one
king.
Said.
Shenischadshu Gezerah Yisrael.
No, that he had just come out with new decree.
Right. He wasn't really a new king,
Right.
but he just came out with new decrees. Now the Mefarshim explained the opinion who says. So obviously the one who says was really a new king, because it says a new king arose. But the other opinion says it can't be he means he was a new king, because why didn't it say the original king died and now a new king arose?
Well, maybe the original king was overthrown.
Or whatever,
as I said
that's true. But
Different policy.
but it says I don't know. I mean there was a coup d'etat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Could be.
But,
Anyway.
but in any respect, public a higher level opinion changed after they reproduced and they swarmed the land and Joseph had died. So therefore, on the one hand, they didn't get the benefit of Joseph protecting the people and helping out the people. On the other hand, they were being displaced by this migration, and these people were separate. They weren't part of the people.
So the Medrash
it's the
says,
age-old thing that
the Medrash says,
like the Muslims.
Medrash says that there's a corollary between Vatim Olei Haaretz Osom and Vayokem Melech Chodesh HaMitzrayim, Shelo Yodai Sosi. When the Jews started to mingle with the Goyim, and they saying, we're the same, we're culturally the same, everything we're the same as you, then comes the backlash.
Oh, that too?
Vayokem Melech Chodesh HaMitzrayim, you king Asher Lo Yodai Sosi. Who's that?
Yeah.
That's what Rashi says. Asher Lo Yoda. What's the next Rashi say?
Okay. It
Asa-
says, Asa Atmo Ki'ilu Lo Yada.
Right. He made out as if he didn't know. Right? It means it can't be possible. And by the way, the Mefarshim point out that it doesn't make a difference. Even if it was really a new king, it's impossible that this
You've got chronicles, you should
person,
know
this
it.
Yosef, had been ruling, had been the viceroy of Egypt for 80 years, and then comes and says, who? Yosef, who? That's not possible, right?
But see, we are looking at the natural way of things.
Right.
If you live in a country and the benefactor dies, he's gone. Therefore, after a couple of years, he really didn't exist. It's like having the plagues.
Small memories.
After the good times, but the good times went, and people forgot the good times. It's natural. It's nature. Okay. And on the other hand, that's all we see now is that these people are swarming like rodents. Therefore, we, the people who live here, are,
The indigenous population are feeling threatened.
Right. They're feeling so that's natural. And the Jews at that time didn't have that divine protection anymore because of what you said. They were mingling with the Egyptians and threatening, and Egyptians felt threatened because they were overpowering them in population on the one hand, and they couldn't see any benefit. I mean, they weren't bringing in anything more.
You see, exactly. The whole point is,
therefore,
it has to be like this is an important lesson in anti-Semitism. The Jews, as long as the Jews keep themselves to themselves, they can make a very good positive contribution to society. But if the idea is we want to be Germans first and then Jews second,
then on the one
similarly, right? This kind of process is an age-old process, the same idea. They want to be Egyptians first, we want to be exactly like you Egyptians, we want to be culturally like you, we want to found it, Major says, they went to their theatres, they went to their circuses, they went to all their places of entertainment, they culturally wanted to be the same as the Egyptians, boomerang.
Right. But because they weren't appreciated in one way,
Obviously,
because there was
right.
no benefactor, and they were appreciated even less the other way. The other way meaning that they were mingling and they tried to separate themselves from the poor folk who were.
I don't know, whatever.
respecting old-time
You're already
religion
reading in
and
things
stuff
into
like
it which
that.
doesn't say in Rashi.
No, I realize that, but we're talking about, contemporary Europe, 100 years ago, that whatever country the Jews lived in, whether they would try to assimilate or they
They
didn't
wanted
try
to be
to
emancipated.
assimilate.
What does emancipated means? They wanted to be culturally like the. Listen, emancipation in itself was nothing wrong, per se. But it was what it led to, right? Emancipation led to assimilation.
It makes it very, very difficult to have, to be in a world of anything goes, theoretically, and being, clinging, to,
Right? 100%.
because you're very,
Okay.
very difficult,
Okay,
if not impossible.
fine.
Okay, on.
Let's make a start on the next passage. Just read Mordechai.
ויאמר אל עמו הנה עם בני ישראל רב ועצום ממנו.
He said to Pharaoh said to his people, "Behold, Am Bnei Yisrael, the people of the Bnei Yisrael, Rav, are more numerous, va'otzum, and more powerful mimenu than us. They're a threat." Okay, we'll have to leave the next passage for tomorrow, Be'ezrat Hashem, and Mordechai